4 o'clock in Miami, Florida. It's 2 p.m. in Boise, Idaho. I knew this day would come. I knew that the effort to rewrite history would be underway by those who don't want their names attached to the unprecedented decline in America. I knew they'd blame everyone else but themselves, and I made a vow. I made a vow to myself. I wouldn't let their efforts go unchallenged. Without fear or favor, the Chris Salcedo Show starts right now. Good afternoon and welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show here on Newsmax. The meteoric decline in America continues, from crime in the streets to the border to the abandonment of the rule of law and the Constitution by our own government to an anti-American foreign policy and a collapsing, inflation-ridden economy. In typical cowardly fashion, those responsible seek to duck accountability. I will not allow it. We, the people, America's greatest hope. That's the focus in today's preamble. I've said this repeatedly, that the change that is needed in America cannot happen without you. The only advantage we have over anti-American pro-China forces is that we outnumber them. I got an email a few weeks back saying that I'm too hard on Republicans. I think it's fair to point out that the left-wing press rarely calls out Democrats for the harm they do. That's another thing that separates me from the biased press. We, the people, not the political parties, are my chief concern. In fact, it's that team mentality that has led to our sorry state of affairs. I'll not emulate the biased press and participate in such dishonest cowardice. I will vote and speak my values, American values, regardless of who is implicated. I am equally hard on the GOP as I am on the Socialists and the Democrat Party because our liberty, security, and prosperity is my guiding light, my set of guiding lights, if you will. Thus, I'm Team USA, not Team GOP or Team Democrat. Here's a prime example. The biased press and entrenched elites are overjoyed at the prospect that a deal has been brokered to keep our government from shutting down. Oh, joy. Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, and Chuck Schumer are elated that they continue to feast on the bones of the American worker and entrepreneur. They celebrate the fact that as Americans are forced to tighten their belts, big, unaccountable, and reckless government never has to take a pay cut. Government never suffers when government screws up our country. Government always comes first as far as these elites are concerned. Sure, our nation is enduring a crisis after crisis after crisis. 6 million illegal aliens have been allowed to stream in and plug into our taxpayer-funded system. Sure, drugs are flowing like a never-failing stream. Yes, the sex trade and slave trade are alive and well in the United States, and whole swaths of our territory have been surrendered to narco-terrorists. Don't forget that our economy is a basket case. Inflation is still high, exceptionally high. Layoffs are increasing, and we face energy shortages this winter. Crime is off the charts. Our communities are overrun, and government continues to leach an ever-increasing share of the private economy. Government colludes to deny us our constitutionally protected rights. The FBI excuses Democrat crimes while inventing some GOP crimes. Despite all of this government failure, congressional mob bosses can't even be bothered to do a budget as is required by law. Their incompetence, laziness, and selfishness is rewarded through continuing resolutions and omnibus spending deals, all designed to keep them rich, fat, and happy, all while our people suffer. The architects of this failure are the leftists in the Democrat Party. The enablers of the Democrats are the so-called leaders of the GOP. One of the guys who has been at the helm during our market decline is Mitch McConnell. This man has been in charge of the GOP in the Senate for 18 years. In that time, we have watched the U.S. government slowly turn from servants of the American people to servants of themselves and China. Mitch has had help. John Boehner, Paul Ryan, and soon Kevin McCarthy. You may recall that back in August, when Mitch McConnell signaled that his surrender caucus wouldn't be supporting America First candidates, that I predicted that Mitch and Republicans like him wouldn't assume responsibility for their divisive and pro-Democrat message, a message that was partially responsible for the red fizzle in the 2022 midterms. I warned that Mitch, in typical Washington fashion, would seek to blame others and not his own actions. Proving that I know these people like every square inch of my own body, McConnell lived down to my expectations.
We ended up having a candidate quality time. Anybody remember who mentioned that back in August? Look at Arizona. Look at New Hampshire. And a challenging situation in Georgia as well. We did, by we, I mean the Senate Leadership Fund, did intervene in 2 primaries, in Alabama and in Missouri. And I do think we had an opportunity to relearn one more time. You have to have quality candidates to win competitive Senate races.
Okay, so let's just examine Mitch McConnell's idea of quality Republicans. McConnell was an enthusiastic supporter of John McCain, whose sad campaign delivered this country into the hands of the most anti-American occupier of the Oval Office this nation has ever been cursed with. While Barack Obama's polished veneer hid his left-wing hatred of America and everything we stand for, John McCain was busy turning in a whimper of a campaign. His demeanor was that of a man who believed he was owed the presidency because he'd been around Washington forever. Aside from being perpetually angry, John McCain spent most of his time in Congress and on the campaign trail attacking conservatives. Again, beloved by Mitch McConnell. Let's turn to another quality candidate loser, beloved by Mitch McConnell and the establishment, severe conservative Mitt Romney. Mr. Romney went up against a candidate who had no answers for the ailments he'd unleashed on America. Under Barack Obama, it was amateur hour daily. Indeed, Obama laid the groundwork for much of the oppressive government we are seeing today. Obama's economic recovery plans, rooted in socialism, were slow. Even CNN had to admit this. Obama's anti-cop and anti-Israel bias were well known. His characterization of our Constitution as a set of negative liberties signaled for all to see Barack Obama's hatred of the United States. Obama's eventual destruction of the U.S. military was already well underway in 2012. America's economy was frustrated by the wet blanket of collectivism that Obama had thrown over it. The same people running Biden were ruining America under Obama, and it's Mitch McConnell's quality candidate, Mitt Romney, through timidity, a lack of conviction, and a deficit of core pro-American values, well, he was handily defeated after all but surrendering in the second and third debates, remember? Liz Cheney, one of Mitch McConnell's favorites, endorsed and campaigned for Democrats in 2022. They all won their races. Liz Cheney is Mitch McConnell's kind of quality candidate. Indeed, when Cheney and Adam Crying Kinzinger were censured by the RNC, we all remember Liz and Adam went way overboard on their devotion to Democrats. It was Mitch McConnell who rode to their rescue. Mitch blasting the RNC for having the crazy idea that it's bad form for Republicans to join an unconstitutional Democrat-led persecution of ordinary citizens engaged in legitimate political discourse. Mitch McConnell's quality candidates even vote for Democrats. His Senate lack of leadership fund reportedly pushed $9 million to Alaska, where that state's election pit an alleged Republican, Lisa Murkowski, versus a conservative, Kelly Tshibaka. Mitch backed Murkowski. Why? Well, left-wing Alaska Senator Murkowski admitted she'd be voting Democrat in that election. She admitted that action wasn't a good look for a person running as a Republican to be, pledging to vote against Republicans. But Mitch McConnell loves that quality in a Republican. And he's hoping that all of you conservatives will give up supporting pro-American, conservative, America First candidates in the future so the GOP can win.
We went through this in 2010, 2012, and unfortunately revisited that situation in 2022. Our ability to control the primary outcome was quite limited in 22 because of the support of the former president proved to be very decisive in these primaries. Hopefully in the next cycle, we'll have quality candidates everywhere and a better outcome.
That's right. It's important that Mitch McConnell's Republicans defeat we conservatives so we can see more harmony with Democrats and we can have more headlines like this. 12 quality Mitch McConnell candidates assumed powers expressly forbidden to them in the U.S. Constitution by telling the nation's faith communities that the U.S. government will now rewrite the definition of marriage. Question: if the GOP pushes Democrat priorities, what's the use of having a GOP? In other words, with Mitch McConnell Republicans, who needs Democrats? We were told a two-party political system is what we had. Each party was supposed to have different ideas on how to make our country a more perfect union under our mutual compact, the U.S. Constitution. But because of politicians who thwarted the Founding Fathers' vision for our government and turned their offices into careers, we now have a selfish cabal of Democrats dedicated to the erosion, undermining, and destruction of the Constitution, and a Republican Party that treasures pleasing those Democrats above all else. Mitch McConnell has been in leadership for over 18 years. And every step of the way, he has blamed talk show hosts, conservatives, and those who wish to oppose Democrats for a steady market decline in enthusiasm for the Republican Party. He has never blamed his own tepid, unimaginative, divisive tactics, not to mention his support for Republicans who support Democrats. The only person to bring back enthusiasm for the Republican brand since Reagan has been Donald J. Trump. The last GOP speaker to inspire enthusiasm for the GOP was Newt Gingrich. Both had one thing in common. Both pushed conservative and bold ideas that benefited America, not Washington and the Democrats. Our current government, under the lack of leadership of Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Joe Biden, is not quality government. Was Trump perfect in 2022's midterms? No. Were the candidates perfect? No. But the idea that Mitch McConnell is pushing, that he is completely blameless in the midterm losses, is absurd on its face. He's a leader, isn't he? Why have the title, Mitch, if you don't lead and you never accept responsibility for your own actions? The truth is, vote for Republicans who support Democrats is a loser message, and it loses elections. That's not quality. It's insanity. And the lead pusher of this insanity is Mitch McConnell. So long as he holds the title of leader, the GOP will never unite with its conservative base. And the GOP will not be an opposition party to Democrats ever again. Perhaps that's Mitch McConnell's vision and his agenda. It doesn't happen to be mine or millions of Americans who hold the belief that Democrats have earned our vehement opposition.